All right, so let's get started. Everyone, welcome to Community Talk number 14. I'm Esty from the Graph Advocates DAO, and I'll be moderating the call today. Excited to be here. All right, so there are some great speakers, segments, and highlights lined up in the agenda. We have the GraphLooker team, a recent grantee, and Abai, from a co-founder of the team, will be introducing GraphLooker. Colson will be speaking about SubgraphDAO, and then we have Ahmad and Annie will be talking about some news from Curation Station. And I think the last segment would be Matt from the foundation. So Matt will be providing some updates on the ecosystem's open roles. But we're going to kick off with some community updates. And you'll see Christina dropping some helpful links in the chat as we move along the updates, so look out for those. First up in the updates is community grants. So this process was introduced in last month's call, and since then, many proposals have been out there. So I'm going to invite Colson, who's a member of the grant committee, to provide some info on how everyone can engage in this process. All right, Colson.
Hi everyone, thank you Asti. Yeah, I would like to inform everyone on the current process a little bit and give you guys some guidance on how you can get engaged. So the grants committee of the Graph Advocates DAO is now in charge of handling all of the community grants that are under 20,000 US dollars. And when somebody applies for one of these grants, the grants are automatically published on the public Graph Advocates Forum, and it's super important for us that we get a lot of community feedback on those grants. So you can go to that forum right now or later on, and you can review those grants, ask questions on the forum, and basically get engaged in the grants process. So it would be very helpful for the grants committee if everybody joins that forum, checks out these applications, and gives some feedback to the grantees or ask questions if anything is unclear. So I would like to invite everybody to start doing that, and I would like to hand over the mic now to Oliver.
Thanks, Colson. Yeah, just to add on to what Colson just said, big picture, right? Decentralization comes in so many different ways, and certainly at the Graph, we have the opportunity to decentralize not only in terms of the protocol, but also the community. And this is really an example of how this is happening right now. First, the grants have been moved from responsibility from foundation to the DAO, and now the DAO extends that also to the community itself, where really everyone can contribute to community review and have a say in what we at the Graph want to prioritize our resources in to see great work happening and developing. So you have not only the opportunity to comment on it, but you can also vote on it, which will be a signal to the grant committee. So it's an exciting process that we feel we have set up now that is in the Graph Advocates DAO forum. And in addition to community grants, you also see a lot of other topics there that relate to the DAO, to the Advocates program, and a lot of different ways to engage. Specifically, one of the things that the DAO has established is the operating code structure. And you find more information on that in the forum to read up on. But please engage, everyone's invited, and I hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Appreciate that information, Colson and Oliver. Yeah, I myself have been trying to engage there as well, providing feedback, and everyone, like they mentioned, everyone can vote. So please do some reading up and providing some feedback there. Hope to see more engagement. And thank you, Christina. Christina provided the link to the Graph Advocates DAO forum in the chat, so be sure to take a look. All right, so next up is ETH Latam in Buenos Aires, Argentina. That was last week, August 11th to the 13th. And Lorena, who was at the event, will share some details. All right, whenever you're ready, Lorena.
Yes, thank you, Esti. Well, last week from 11 to 13 was ETH Latam Buenos Aires, with a lot of people there, more than 3,000, almost 4,000 people. and was the first very important event in Buenos Aires, and it's in road to DevCon, so will be more of these ETH Latam events in different countries before October. In the event, Brian Berman from H&O talked about Graph. He made a presentation to talk about decentralized data, Web3 APIs, and use cases. So that was very interesting. In addition of that, one point that is very, very that we have to take into consideration is there was presented the quadratic funding. Okay, it's not like cheatcoin, but there is a new procedure for common good. Okay, for projects that are interested in common good, there's a new process that Ethereum Foundation gives they have some budget to do in a project that are working on common goods. And this was the first in Buenos Aires, but will be more in the different ETH Latam events. So, and in addition of that, there were more than 15 advocates from the Graph Advocates in these events. So that was a very new way to be in contact with other advocates. This was the first event, important event, and will be more than 10 advocates in the same place. Thank you, Steve.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lorena, for that overview. And yeah, wish I could have been there. Nick also dropped a link to a YouTube video from the event, so please check that out as well. All right. And we're going to move on. So Annie now will share a few words about Messari and Soulbound, who were previous guests on Community Talk. And take it away, Annie.
Hi, thank you, Esti. All right. So Messari, as many of you all know, is now a core subgraph developer for the graph. And they will be essentially making subgraph standards for people to refer to and use to build subgraphs, which is great. And the graph actually published a blog post that goes in depth about how Messari will be approaching that. So be sure to check it out. It will be, I think the link will be dropped in, there it is, in the chat. Thank you, Christina. Awesome. And also, we've got Soulbound. Yes, Soulbound, who are, they did their alpha launch for their subgraph canvas, which is great for people who want to develop subgraphs who have little to no coding experience, and it's great. So be sure to check that out. They published a tweet and a thread that also goes in depth about it. And yeah, be sure to check it out. It's pretty cool. It's very innovative, and I'm sure it will help many of those who are curious about subgraph development and want to dip their feet in it. So yeah, back to you, Esti.
Amazing. Yeah, as a non-technical person, I feel like these innovative initiatives are so cool. So yeah, if like Annie said, be sure to check that out. And Christina's consistently posting the links there. So thank you again for that, Christina. All right. So next up, I want to briefly touch on some amazing podcasts. So hopefully everybody's already aware of GRTiQ. So there, just want to touch on the last 2 episodes of GRTiQ. If you haven't already checked them out, please do so. So GRTiQ episode 75 was with Joel Chan and Rob Hasefield. So there were some pretty deep discussions going on there. So that episode really, it's about tools for thought, and they kind of dive deep into discussions on how humans learn and synthesize knowledge through tools, and really cool. Check that out. And then GRTiQ episode number 76 was with Derek Meyer of Data Nexus. So Data Nexus recently launched, and Derek really talks about his journey on becoming an indexer. And obviously he has held multiple stakeholder roles within the ecosystem, and this is a great one to check out as well. And Soulspeak is a fairly new podcast. Marcus of Soulbound, he hosts Soulspeak, and want to highlight a couple of the episodes there. Soulspeak episode number 7 was with Kyle Rojas of EdgeNode, and he talks about DeFi and TradeFi, reputation, values in Web3 and beyond. So really cool stuff. And the latest episode, I believe, of Soulspeak was with Nick Hansen of, ironically, the host of GRTiQ podcast, right? And that was really cool for me, at least personally, because Nick, we always see him as the host of the podcast as opposed to the guest. And really cool stuff. He shares his perspectives on Web3 and the graph, so you'll be able to hear Nick speak about his journey for the first time, at least at the first time from my that I've experienced or seen. So really interesting stuff. So Christina's going to go ahead and drop those links as well. All right. And next update is this month in indexing and curating posts. So as many of you may already know, so this month in indexing, this month in curation. So these are newsletters, monthly newsletters that are worked on by Payne and Slim Chance, and they've been working hard and really want to highlight the newest editions. So the links to July's edition will be dropped in there as well. So please check those out. You'll see the updates on last month from curation and updates in indexing. So really cool. All right, and I think this is the last update here. So want to touch on the graph's Q2 2022 quarterly GRT participant update. So this really, so you'll see Tegan and Eva. They'll be providing a comprehensive summary of the work from the past quarter, while also showcasing the technological advances that core contributors are building behind the scenes, and also some insight on what's to come in the next quarter. So I would really highly recommend to check that out as well. All right, links are being dropped. Perfect. All right, so that's it for the community updates. We're gonna start with the first segment now, and this is a grantee spotlight. That's the name of the segment. And so GraphLooker was recently launched by the grantee, and the grantee was GraphLooker. That's the team. And Abai, I'm terribly sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Abai is the co-founder of the team of GraphLooker, and we'll be being introduced to GraphLooker, and I believe there will be a demo. So whenever you are ready, Abai.
Yeah, so I'm ready. So am I audible properly? Hello.
Yeah.
Am I?
You're good.
We can
Yes,
hear you.
we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, good to be here. So I'm Abhay, co-founder of GraphLooker, and recently, we launched GraphLooker. So I'll give a brief intro about GraphLooker, and then I'll share my screen and give demo like how it can be used. So yeah, so GraphLooker is your, real-time subgraph explorer and visualizer. So let's say I mean, so let's say if you're a subgraph developer, you are a curator, you are a delegator. You can, and if you have a subgraph, you can use GraphLooker, and you can do different operations. Like, I mean, very like simple to complex operations. For example, you want to sort the data, you want to filter the data, you want to download the data to CSV. So all those like possibilities you can do with GraphLooker. And I mean, I want to share a story like how it started. So basically, like so we do like a lot of analytics on subgraph data, and but like like before doing any analytics on subgraph, we want like we do a lot of checks. For example, is the entities correct? Is the subgraph data is coming latest? Is the data latest? Or what are the different attributes? What are the different like metrics we can build on a subgraph? So this was an internal tool. GraphLooker was an internal tool which our team was like build it and was using it quite actively. So we ourselves build a lot of subgraphs in the T5, in the NFT segments, even in the bridge subgraph, like a lot of bridge subgraph we have built. So before like actually doing some analytics, we do a lot of checks, and GraphLooker was that tool. And I mean, we thought like I think it'll be like, let's make it open source, let's make it public. It'll be like helpful for other graph users. So that's how GraphLooker came. I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So it's a very like generic front end, and you can let's say if you have a subgraph endpoint, it can be it can be a hosted service subgraph endpoint. It can be a studio subgraph endpoint, or even let's say if you're running your own node. So you get that subgraph endpoint, you input that, and just like click on explore. So you see, like this is a Uniswap V2 like subgraph. Like, so these are the different entities of Uniswap V2. These are different for each entity. Like you can browse it. You can actually like visualize without knowing about that subgraph, like what are the different entities are there, what are the different attributes are there. So yeah, so let's for example take an example of Uniswap swap entity, and you want to like dig down more. You want to know more about the swap entity, and let's say you want to apply some filters, shorting. So what you can, so let's say I want to see what are the different swaps happened in last 15 minutes. So based on different data types, we have different filters. For example, for the timestamp fields, these are the different filters: previous, current, before. So I want to know what are the different like what are the swaps happened in last 15 minutes. So I'll put this information and I'll update that filter. Yeah, so these are the like swaps in last 15 minutes. Now you want to like dig more. Like for example, you want to know for this sender. I mean, so what are different? Let's say in last 15 minutes, this sender, what are the swaps he has done? So you can apply this filter too. So there are like multiple filters are supported, and on this you can, there is also like sorting, ascending, descending, that you can do. Now this data, what you can do is you can export to CSV. So you, I mean, you did some analysis, you did some you applied some filters, you did sorting. Now you want to, let's say, do more slice and dice. So you can download that data to CSV, and it will be downloaded. You can, I mean, either do some slice and dice on the CSV, or export to Google Sheet and do more operations. So this is, I mean, this is how you can use GraphLooker. I would also like to show some more cases. For example, for the Studio subgraph, so Rocket Pool is a subgraph built by Data Nexus, and it's a Studio subgraph. So for Studio subgraph, I mean the only like dynamic parameter is the API key. So you can make a subgraph endpoint with that API key, provide that this here, and let's say I'll click there. So this data like directly coming from the network subgraph, and yeah. So for example, the stakers. So let's say I want to see, I mean, what are the different staking transactions happening? And again, I can do like, I can apply filters. So this is a like timestamp field. So it's a timestamp filters. There is, I mean, these are, this is a block field. I mean, it's a block number. Let's say you want to see the staking transactions for a particular block. You can do that. Like you can apply equal, greater than, less than. So all those number filters are also there. Yeah. So I mean, these are like seems quite basic operations. But for example, there are, I mean, curators, delegators, or even a marketing person who is non-technical and want to see a subgraph data, want to know, understand more, and from the UI he wants to filter it or sort it. So all those things he can do through GraphLooker. Yeah. I would like to show one more use case. So, I mean, we have, let's say, network subgraph. So, how you can use viewing like subgraph data from UI in real time for network subgraph. For example, in network subgraph, there is indexer entity, and you want to see like in real time what are the, I mean, stake tokens I have, what are the allocated tokens I have. So this is a I have done filter for graph ops indexer, but you can do it for yourself or like your indexer also. And you can see all the allocations. And again, you can apply all those shorting, filtering, pagination operations, download to CSV, and do like more advanced operations. So yeah, this is how you can use GraphLooker. And I mean, we have after the launch, we have like received like amazing response from the Graph community. We have, I mean, we have received new feature requests. For example, support of time travel queries, support of like building charts in on the real time subgraph data. Uh, uh, yeah, so we are, I mean, noting down those feedbacks and iterating on that, working on, like kind of working towards a roadmap where we are adding those features in GraphLooker. I mean, if you have any feedback, if you want any feature request, I mean, just let us know. I mean, we'll keep a note of it, and we'll like keep improving GraphLooker. Yeah, so I mean, open for any questions, any thoughts.
First of all, I want to say this is awesome, really well done. I love this tool. I've actually played around with it myself. And I think the first thing, maybe we can stay on your screen for a moment, because I want to be mindful that many people might not have seen this, and how you can actually, make use of it. If you go to the main screen at GraphLooker, can you go to your main screen for a second? Yeah. So you see you have to input a Subgraph API endpoint. And to many people here, that might not even be clear, what does that mean? So if you go to the top right tab, the indexes on the Graph Explorer, can you click on the Graph Explorer, click on subgraphs, and click on any subgraph that we have. Premium, I think, is the first one. So here's where you find all the subgraphs, and you see at the, if you scroll down, I think it's down there. No, Playground, I think it is, right? If you go to Playground tab.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hang on, where do you see the API here?
Okay, so
I'm trying to see the exact. That's the one. Query URL.
Yeah.
So that is what you got to copy and plug in to that application, and that's when you get that data from that subgraph shown, like he has pulled for the other ones there. So I just wanted to give just a quick pointer in terms of how you can actually use it and how you can find that URL that you need to plug in at the front end.
Right. So yeah, I mean, so there is at the home screen also there is documentation. So if you go to this like documentation, so there is a section here, Studio Subgraph, and this in details explains how can you generate a API key and how can you use that API key to make that URL.
Awesome. So the other part, or the question that I have is, so you're saying you've done some extensive evaluation of data as well, because I've been looking at the graph network subgraph quite a bit over the last week, and I found a few things that I have questions about. So you would be folks that I could also reach out to and say, as far as data itself is concerned, we can have a discussion on a few things to better understand how to interpret data. Is that right?
Yeah. So yes, correct. So the way GraphLooker is it's it's a real time, for example, visualizer. But we also have a product called GraphLooker, and it's a very
It's 9 o'clock.
It's very extensive BI intelligence tool. So in GraphLooker, basically you can plug your subgraph and launch a dashboard out of it. So basically, you can write SQL queries on the subgraph data. So let's say if you have those kind of questions, or you need a particular extensive analytics, kind of business intelligence analytics on a subgraph, just let us know, and we'll make that available.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming here and demoing that. That was cool.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Anybody else have any questions for Abai and GraphLooker? All right, I'll take silence as a no. And again, I appreciate that demo there, Abai.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next segment, and the next segment is Subgraph DAO. So we're going to hear a little bit from Colson on what's going on, what the mission is, the purpose for Subgraph DAO, and how you can join and participate.
All right, you should be able to hear me, and you should be able to see my screen right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Awesome. Yeah, so I would like to tell you guys a little bit about SubgraphDAO. We first announced SubgraphDAO during the Graph Day Graph Hack, but not everybody was there or may have joined the ecosystem at a later stage. So today, as Asti said, I would like to tell you guys a little bit about the mission of SubgraphDAO, what the purpose is, who it's for, and how to get involved with the SubgraphDAO. So first of all, I would like to tell you guys the mission. And the mission of the Subgraph DAO is to support, fund, and empower developers, teams, and protocols actively building subgraphs, as well as those in need of subgraph development. So the purpose of Subgraph DAO is that we will support the subgraph development community. We will create new subgraphs. So if anybody needs a new subgraph build, or anybody needs help with building a new subgraph, we can help out there. Sometimes an existing subgraph is not maintained anymore, and if it needs updated, then the Subgraph DAO can help out there. We are also going to help with the migration of Subgraph to the decentralized network. And as some of you guys may know, that is a really big push that we're doing this year, as the hosted service will eventually be sunset. So that is something that we can help out as well. And we're going to help with the education of junior Subgraph developers. So if you are somebody that is new to Subgraph development or would like to get better at it, definitely join that server and we can help out there. So who is it for? So it's kind of split in between two. We have the developers, teams, and protocols that are actively building subgraphs, and as well those in need of subgraph development. So we have a demand there, and then also we can supply that by having a lot of subgraph developers on our team or in the Discord server. And so we are currently looking for a lot of, I used superstar Subgraph developers here. So people that are really, really experienced, senior Subgraph developers. So people that have already built subgraphs and publish it to the decentralized network and also are just really good at it. But also people that would like to get more involved as a junior or novice Subgraph developer. So how to get involved with the Subgraph DAO? We have a Discord server where we do almost all of our communication. So I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in Subgraph development or you would like to keep up with the progression of the Subgraph DAO, to join that Discord server. Or if you have any personal questions or questions about subgraphs or how we can help you out, you can also reach out to me on Discord, and I will send that question. If I can't help you myself, I can send that question to the team. So that's basically how we can get involved. And for the sake of time, I'm gonna skip the Q&A. We can do that maybe at the end if there's some time left. But for now, I would like to thank you guys for the opportunity to showcase what the Subgraph DAO does and what we are. And hopefully I will see a lot of you guys in the Discord and see a lot of people get involved. So I would like to thank Esti and give it back to Esti.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Colson. For sure, if we do end up going over time and some people can have questions about Subgraph DAO and want to remain on the call, we can stop the recording and continue with the Q&A.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next segment, which is some updates or news from Curation Station. And we're going to have Ahmad Mardani, and Annie speak about Curation Station. So whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you, Esti. Hey, Ahmad, are you there? Oh, I can't hear you.
We can see him, but he can't hear you.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
push to talk activated.
You have push to talk? Yeah. Oh no. Okay.
I remember last time that his voice was bugged from the location that he was at. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's happening again. But he is talking in the chat, so Ahmad is here. Oh, he's using a VPN now, so that should be the issue.
Yeah.
Is your mic configured right, Ahmad?
Okay, yeah, we can give him 1 minute. But yes, for those who don't know, Ahmad is basically a big part of Curation Station, and curation is going to be a very big deal in the future, especially with the sunsetting of the hosted service. So it's definitely something to stay on top of, and basically it's a good time to, if you have ever been curious about being a curator, it's a great time to kind of start researching. The Graph Academy is a great place where you can learn about curation and the risks that go along with it. And yeah, it's really a great time. You know, there are several hundred already subgraphs already on the main net. So and there's thousands more in the hosted service waiting to be migrated. So as soon as that happens, things will be pretty intense, and curation will be basically at its I lost my train of thought. But it'll be it will be basically full-fledged. So yeah. Yes, and is Ahmad.
And we've seen already so many subgraphs that are over there, over 400. And one of the things that we've been seeing here over the last couple of months is really query fees hitting the network. And that comes for a number of reasons. It's not in full swing yet. It's not happening necessarily for every allocation, but it is really taking off. And we have also a number of things that are happening right now on the protocol governance side that will further, enable query fees to come through, and that's really where the curation market, gets the juice from, because the curators receive a cut from all of the query fees that the indexers collect from the allocations. So this is starting right now, and the volume is only going to continue to rise from here, both as a result from more subgraphs to be migrated over on the decentralized network, but also as a result from things like L2 coming, as well as GIP 28. When you look at the proposal there, where indexers would then allocate both query fees and indexer rewards at all times in the same closing of the allocation step, that would further generate more query fees for curators as well, and a number of other things too. And I see we do have Ahmad now. I didn't want to take away time from him. Ahmad, can you speak now? So maybe you can add some thoughts to that.
Yeah, it sounds like Ahmad is having issues with his microphone. Yeah. So
we do have Derek online here though. Derek, are you there?
I was gonna say the same thing. If Derek would like to say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things that's happening with the Curation Station right now is with all the different subgraphs migrating, we need to educate more curators, and we need to, I guess, train people. That way we kind of know how to handle large volumes of subgraphs all being deployed at once. A great example is just a few days ago, there was a developer that published, I think it was like 6 or 7 different subgraphs, each with varying use cases. And so it's important that as curators, we can go and look at each of those subgraphs and say, okay, well, which of these are going to be the heavily queried subgraphs and which are not going to be? Because all of this adds to the load balancing for the network. So we then direct indexer attention to which subgraphs are going to receive heavy traffic, which ones will not receive heavy traffic, which ones are just totally, bogus spam or whatever. And so developing these skills is something that's really important to hone in on right now, kind of in preparation for, the multi-chain mainnet that's coming. We're about to see, a similar, like that same developer, they have the same 7 subgraphs, but on each different chain that they're going to need to deploy. And so we're going to need to be able to sift through these pretty quickly. And I just want to put in a plug for everyone that is interested in curation. Definitely join the Curation Station. We're happy to help out because it's a skill set that the better we do, the healthier the protocol will be. So it works to everyone's advantage.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd also like to throw out that you don't have to be super technical to be a curator. It's actually one of the least roles, like least technical roles within the ecosystem. Delegation is actually the least technical. But you basically just use your Web3 knowledge to curate, subgraphs essentially. So anyone can be a curator, and highly encourage people to research it if they're interested. We'll definitely need curators. All right, cool. Thank you, Christina, for dropping the Curation Station Telegram. So, anybody who has any questions on curation can go there, and people will be happy to assist you. Derek will be there. Ahmad will be there. So, yeah, great. Thank you so much, Derek. And back to you, Esty.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who participated in that segment there. Derek, Annie, and Oliver. Sorry that Ahmad was having issues with his mic. But yeah, curation, definitely something to look into. And gonna move on here. We do have some time. I envision we will have some remaining time, but for now, I'm gonna pass the mic to Matt. Matt is from the foundation. He was here, I think, 2 months ago during Community Talk. And he's gonna provide some updates on the open roles in the ecosystem. So Matt, whenever you're ready.
Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it. And first and foremost, I appreciate everyone on this call who has been helping to share out the Twitter posts and the LinkedIn posts on Mondays. That's been an incredibly effective way for us to reach out to the Web3 community in general. I've had a lot of people DM me on Twitter, reach out to me on LinkedIn. We've seen an uptick in applicants, and we've seen a pretty massive uptick in referrals. So your efforts are being noticed and appreciated. And that is going to be pretty much our game plan going forward every Monday. So if we could just continue to do that and continue to look out for that again, we'd really appreciate it. And again, the efforts are being. I've been talking with a few people from advocates on the side about how I can, add value or give back to, both the advocates and the greater graph community in general around interviewing and hiring and getting into Web3. Since I've joined the foundation, I've gotten a lot of questions around that. And ultimately at the end of the day, right now, I have suggestions and opinions, but nothing that's super concrete. So we're still trying to figure that out and crack that nut. And, we're going to try a few things, see what sticks, see if y'all like it. And if not, we can pivot. We're definitely open to suggestions. But Kyle and Christina helped get a survey out there where y'all could submit some questions. I could come up with some answers. And, maybe this is the right venue for that. Maybe we determine that a different medium is better. Maybe we come up with an FAQ. Again, would love some feedback from you around this so that we can make this as effective as possible. So, what I'd like to do is just walk through a few of those questions that I got and a couple of the answers. And again, at the end of this, if you find this helpful, great, we can continue to do it. If there's a better way to do this, I'd love to hear what you think. And we can go about it a different way. At the end of the day, we want it to be helpful. We want people to be able to move into whatever career opportunities that they would like to in the Web3 space, whether it's with the graph or a graph partner or just Web3 in general. So, with that said, just, what I have found as far as hiring or interviewing in Web3 goes is that it's much different than what I experienced in Web2. Like sort of the key recruiting concepts are the same, but how we gain candidates' attention or how we reach out to the communities so far has been pretty different. I've actually been networking with some other talent leaders and some people leaders in Web3, and pretty much across the board, everyone is saying that as far as they know, nobody has the answer. Right now, the Web3 community is very small. It's very young compared to the Web2 world. So there's a lot of people just kind of getting into the space or sort of finding their way. So, I've joined a couple communities with a few of these other talent leaders and people leaders. And what we're going to start doing is just sharing candidates that we're coming across. And I've gotten a handful of referrals that way. We've talked about leveraging your communities, which I mentioned that you've all been fantastic about sharing your job posts on Mondays. So again, appreciate that and keep it up. I've started going to some local meetups here in Austin, Texas, and have been networking that way and have met some interesting people. In general, I think that what these other talent leaders are kind of saying is that referrals have been the best way to go about it, because what they say in recruiting is good people know good people. And so, usually if we can get a strong referral in, we can kind of streamline the process and get that person to join us. Something that we're going to be trying starting later this week is more events focused recruiting. So I'm going to be down at ETH Mexico with a few people on this call. And we're going to come up with a very, specific strategic plan. as to how we can, get the word out about roles in the graph ecosystem and just network for the long term if candidates aren't interested in the short term, or if we find interested candidates but they don't meet the skill requirements, how can we point them in the right direction to help them grow their skills and make it easier for them to find a role at the graph or in Web3. So that's kind of like the high level, what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 months that I've been here. And again, if y'all have any ideas, I think that we're all ears at this point in time. So diving into some of these questions that I received, and for those of you that did submit some questions, thank you very much. Appreciate that and getting the ball rolling here. One of the first ones I received says, I am a social person, not a tech guy. What are my options in Web3? And so the good news is that non-tech roles are really starting to gain traction in Web3. I think you'd find a lot of similar roles that you would find in Web2 these days. The types of roles that are going to support a product, a project, or an engineering team in some way, shape, or form. And, really what you could go for in like a non-tech role is something that, of course, that you're interested in, but something that fits your background. And it could be anything from marketing to product management, account management, legal roles, sales roles, social media management roles, content writing roles, community management roles, recruiting roles, and down the list. I think that the days of Web3 being it's always going to be tech focused or engineer focused, right? Because they're the ones that are building out the whole space. But I think that the division of labor is sort of gaining ground on the non-tech side. So really it would just be about what path you want to take and going out and getting after it. Another question I received is, what's something that stands out for you on a business development resume? And so there's a few different things. And actually, earlier in my career, I did spend a couple of years doing more sales recruiting for a company. But I think a couple highlights that I would like to mention are just alignment on what's being sold. So like, if you're in the Web2 world and there's a SaaS company that has a SaaS sales role open, typically they're going to want to see previous experience in SaaS sales, because that's going to align as closely as possible to what they would be doing in this role, that they're applying for. Other things that you can consider is like tech sales versus non-tech sales. You can look at the industry, and also you can look at the type of customers that someone is selling to, right? So like, who is the buyer? Is the buyer of what you're selling an engineer? Is it a retail person like, you or me? Is it B2B sales? So if you're applying for a role that is a B2B sales role and you have that experience, my recommendation would be to really highlight on your resume that specific experience and how it aligns to the role. Other suggestions that I would have are in your resume, making your accomplishments as quantifiable and metrics focused as possible. So, talk about how you hit or exceeded your quotas. Talk about your activity. Did you need to make 100 phone calls a day? Or did you need to have, 20 client meetings a month? Or whatever those numbers are. Talk specifically to numbers. And I would say that's not even something just specific to sales. You want to kind of use your resume as an opportunity to brag, right? How did you move the needle? Other things that you can highlight or that stands out is like the medium for sale, right? Was it phone sales? Was it in-person sales? Was it event sales? Let's see here. Another thing that you can look at, like, so in sales roles, that there are some roles where just like you go out, you make a sale, that's it. There are some roles where you make a sale and then you get residuals off those sales. So, that's something to be aware of. And then another differentiator in selling is like, did you do strategic selling or just did you do, volume selling, right? So like, did you have to create an entire sales strategy and then execute on that strategy? Or did you walk into a pre-built process where you just kind of had to go through the steps and it was more of a numbers game? So I think that, looking at a business development candidate, with regards to some of those areas, I would just be aware on your end that those are things that recruiters and hiring teams are going to look at and look for as close alignment as possible to the business development role that's being advertised. Let's see here. So another question I got is, can we have the concept of insurance in Web3? Can I be an insurance agent? And so my answer is I haven't seen anything out there specific to this, but my answer is like, sure, why not, right? And my follow-up question would be is like, what are you insuring? So I actually have been reached out to by one company. They're called Superscript. I don't know if anybody's familiar with them, but it seems like they do more business oriented insurance and they're trying to make headway into Web3. They offer like liability insurance for directors and officers of projects and companies. They offer like cyber risk insurance around like data breaches and third-party defense. They offer insurance for like theft of digital assets. Like let's say some project out there has their treasury robbed, right? It sounds like they offer some insurance around that, but it's more on the business side. There's another company out there called Opolis. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. They aren't necessarily a insurance company. What they are is more of like a blockchain-based worker co-op, where if you wanted to work as like a contractor for a project, you could do that. And then you could contact Opolis, and they have these different, like most co-ops do, where they get, bargains or better deals on like health insurance or life insurance, and I think other things related to like healthcare and benefits for a worker. I think that they might just be in the US for now. Don't quote me on that. But I saw them at ETH Denver, and I've actually talked to them on the side as well. And I think that they are planning to grow into somewhat more of a global presence. But I know that they have account managers, and I know that they have salespeople. So like if you were looking for an insurance agent type role, maybe either Superscript or Opolis are the types of companies that you could reach out to and see if they're hiring. Moving on to the next one, what are some knowledge or skill sets that you think are a must-have or an advantage for all Web3 positions? And I think right now, because we are so early in Web3, is that passion and hunger is a must. A desire for the project that you're applying to, a desire for like the culture and the values that we've shared with the company that you're applying to. It is absolutely a must-have. I think it's more than half the battle. Being knowledgeable about the space is important. And again, because the space is so new, really having a student mentality. Like, before I joined the Graph and sort of started my foray into Web3, I thought that I was pretty knowledgeable about Web3 and crypto and blockchain, and I was. But since joining the Graph, I've realized, more than ever that I really don't know anything about Web3. Like I've at this point have more questions than answers, which I love because I can kind of go down the rabbit hole. And, I think thankfully for myself, I enjoy doing that kind of thing. And if you're that kind of person as well, I think that you're moving in the right direction in terms of, getting a job in Web3. Another interesting question that I got, and I think that this will be more of an opinion piece, was should we have a Metaverse Land to get better opportunities in Web3? been thinking about buying one, but it's confusing if it will add value in the future. And, in short, my answer is maybe. I think that, you would have to ask yourself a lot of questions like, why would this help? What's the incentive to use it and keep using it? Is it scarce? Will the value keep growing? Will the interest continue in that specific platform, right? Or will something new and better come along and take its place? What is the overall utility? I think, like most of Web3 right now, they're in their very early stages where they're very basic and there's not really a lot of utility today. However, maybe 2, 3, 4, 10 years from now, that changes. I have a couple articles, and maybe I'll drop them in the chat here, but they're pretty funny. I think that the vibe on Metaverse Land right now is pretty low. I think a lot of like the value has tanked, like a lot of the projects out there in the bear market. And so like the real answer is like, are they going to bounce back and how? So I just posted a few article titles that I found when I was kind of looking this stuff up, and you can look those up. And I think that, everywhere I was looking, most people, opinion-wise right now, aren't super high on the metaverse and virtual land. But again, I think that is their respective opinions, right? And then the last question that we'll kind of cover here is, what kind of positions have I seen the most growth in because of Web3? And I think hands down, without question, it's engineering roles focused on Web3 technology. I mean, they basically didn't exist, and now they're in incredibly high demand. The growth has been exponential, and specifically roles like smart contract development, Solidity development, anything that's leveraging some kind of Web3 centric tech is just off the charts right now in terms of the demand. So with that said, those are the questions and the answers / opinions that I have for y'all. Hopefully there's some value here. Again, if you think it would be helpful, we can try and put this into some kind of like running FAQ format. Or if you like this, we can do kind of like a little Q&A segment during these calls moving forward. Let us know what you think would be most helpful. And I really appreciate the time that you gave me here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Matt, and digging into those questions and providing your insight. That was very informative. Yeah, so we are at the top of the hour. Gonna wrap this up here. I want to thank everybody for joining today in Community Talk number 14. We're gonna stop the recording, and if Colson would like to stay on a few minutes where others have questions about SubgraphDAO or any other questions that others can answer, help answer, then that would be great. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and till next month.